I've met you all. I'm Charles Lamb, current City of Edmond mayor, and it was my responsibility to give you, basically, you will, why we've asked you all to get together. First of all, thank you for stepping up and volunteering. We had 90 plus volunteers. 100, okay. And this is not the first time we've put out an appeal for people to serve in Edmond on what we call a short-term task force and have numbers that are astronomical in a short window of time. So this is another representative case. So the council had 17 slots that we decided to appoint for this task force. So the council members all had 3, and then I had the other numbers to make it. We originally were going to do 21, but that makes the dialogue a little hard when you get that big a group. And it's important that you have a lot of opportunity to interact on this subject. So my charge is to tell you why, and that is because we're doing a complete redevelopment of Stevenson Park. And there's a memorial at Stevenson Park, a plaza that's immediately north of the old armory, now the Historical Museum. And the bricks are falling apart, they're spalling away, and those were named bricks, and they're not contemplating maintaining that plaza with the new design for Stevenson Park. They're actually going to take out that drive that comes out right there by 5th Street and kind of clean the thing up, make it flow a little better. So the council was discussing what do we do with respect to that memorial. We don't want it to just disappear, or the idea to disappear. Casey's done some homework, and you've all met and communicated with Casey. Casey's going to be your liaison. But what we need to hear from you is what should we do as a memorial to recognize veterans and the service of veterans, and do it in an Edmond way. And there is nothing defined. Casey has done some homework. There's about, did you say about 8 memorials scattered around Edmond? Memorial High School actually is one as well. There were some of our classmates that were they're identified in those plaques. But there are others that some of them may amend themselves to being included, and some of them may not. But the whole thing is open for your deliberation, and we're hoping that you're in a position to make a recommendation to us sometime near the end of the year, because we got a week later start. We may have to push that timeline depending on how your discussions go. You're allowed, you can invite any group in you want to talk to. It's pretty wide open. Yeah. Casey has done homework on possible locations that you may want to talk about at some point. But beyond that, we don't have any hard game plan. We just need some advice from citizens with an interest as to what might be the strategy. So that's the charge, open-ended as it is. And I think tonight it was basically your goal to put together kind of everybody get to know each other and kind of set a schedule for meetings and so forth.
Yes. Yes.
So I've done my part, unless you have questions for me at this point.
Can I add a couple of things onto that?
Absolutely.
I know you guys are going to have a lot of questions. Obviously the goal is, this is fairly open-ended at this point. After we get through tonight, you guys will have elected a chair and a vice chair that will run these meetings. I will be an asset and a resource to deliver whatever information you need and to kind of make sure everything's moving along correctly. A couple of things that I know that we talked about that I'm going to add to what Charles talked about. I think the charge is going to be kind of multifaceted. One is going to be location. Where would we potentially locate one of these? And I think probably our next meeting, that's where we'll start our focus, is on location, because that will kind of guide the rest of the process based upon what we have to work with. We've identified some areas potentially, but we're not going to limit you guys to those specifically. We'll talk more about that next time. The other charge, once we have location, is potential concepts. We want to look at concepts. One of the things that we've talked about at a staff level and with Mayor Lamb is that we want this to be something pretty special. And we want this to be not just another Flag Plaza statue granite blocks, which are the things that you tend to see at Veterans Memorials. There's nothing wrong with those, but what I think we're looking at is we have an opportunity to do something unique and something special. And so be prepared to get outside of the box and think that way. Third would be budget. That's going to be a question. We're going to give you the budget this way. We're not limiting you with the budget, but we don't have unlimited funds. So we want you to dream big, but we also want to be realistic that this isn't something that we can go spend, however many zeros you want to put after the number. But somewhere in between those, I think is the.
And it doesn't necessarily all have to be public funds.
That's right. I was going to ask if there's any fundraising.
That was going to be that's the last piece is funding. I think we have some funding areas from city funds that we can look at, but I think we also want to look at other funding opportunities, whether that's grants, whether that's public-private partnerships, or any other ideas that you may come up with. So as you're looking at kind of what does this look like, where do we want to be at the end of this, those are the things that the hope is that you'll be able to take forward to council and say, we've met over however much time that we've met, these are our recommendations. And at the end of the day, that's what you're going to come to is a recommendation. Ultimately, city council makes the final decisions on any of these things. So keep that in mind. Your recommendation may go through exactly as is, or it may get tweaked a little bit. But it's a key vital part to all of this is the work that you will do as a group. So hopefully that answers quite a few of the why you're here questions. We're not going to get into a lot of that sort of business tonight. So if you brought questions or thoughts or ideas, keep them because you're going to need them. What I was hoping tonight is to allow everyone, you can see the agenda here, allow everyone to self-introduce. I'm gonna kind of give you an idea of what we'd like to learn from everyone. Election of a chair and a vice chair. Really, what does that mean? What that means is you need to elect people that are really good at keeping a meeting moving so that you're not here all night, and people that are going to be here, and people that are comfortable leading these meetings. The vice chair's role is really just in case the chair is not here. That's about the only thing that you're going to see. Now, when this process does conclude, more than likely we'll probably have a council workshop.
That's classic, yeah.
Yeah.
No decision, but an opportunity for a dialogue.
So typically in that sort of setting, your chair is probably going to be the one that's going to present your proposal or your recommendation to the city council. So be thinking about that. It's kind of weird because most of you don't know each other, so pointing across the room and go, I nominate this person. So it's okay to self-nominate if you want to do that. Nobody's going to judge for anybody that wants to self-nominate. If you feel like you want to fill one of those roles, we'll have that dialogue. And then once we do that, the chair's first duty tonight is they're going to lead the discussion about future meeting dates, and it says and locations. That'll be determined a little bit upon when you decide it's the best time for everyone to meet. This room is a great room, but it's used a lot, so there are some limitations there as well. That's kind of the overview. Is there anything else that you wanted to add?
Well, only that after tonight, myself nor any of the council members will probably participate or even sit in on the task force discussions. We did that with the sales tax discussion because this should be yours, not ours, until such time as you made the recommendation that you end up with. So my job was just to kind of tell you why we've asked you to be here, and then it's yours. I'm kind of disappointed that we don't have the full house, but that's going to be the nature of it.
I did hear from one member whose name is not out here that he did tell me. Everyone else I think we've got 3 that aren't here, did tell me they'd be here, so don't know what came up. But obviously we want everyone to be present as much as possible with this being a short-term task force, and we were very open about that on the application process. So finding the right time to meet is going to be really key to try to get everyone in the room. We are recording these meetings, not for any purpose other than just so we have a record of them, in case somebody's not here and they want to go back so they don't feel like they fell behind. Or you can also go back and watch a meeting back if there's something you didn't remember, you wanted to jog your memory. We will end up uploading these to our YouTube channel, so I'll email you after each meeting, I'll email you a link to that, and you can go in and you can watch those meetings. So hopefully this meeting will be uploaded by the end of the day tomorrow. This is what we're hoping for. So any questions for Charles? He's here.
Yes, sir.
Does the VFW have anything to do with this?
Not at this point, not unless you ask them, not unless you ask them to come and participate and maybe be part of your fundraising. You are the task force. We have no other allegiance with any other organization, although we know there are a number of them out there.
But their property over there, is that part of Edmond?
Yes, it is.
It is, all right.
Now, well, you're saying the VFW, you're talking about right there by the
American
post
Legion?
office?
American Legion.
The Legion hut is a,
Stevenson Park?
yeah, that's
City owned.
it's city-owned, and we don't have a plan for it other than we will maintain it in the Stevenson Park plan. It's one of our very few truly historic register properties. But yeah, it's city-owned. We've had to dig that up.
Yeah, but to your question, there's lots of groups out there, and if you want to have people come in and be part of the process, you can. Just know that the more people you bring in, the bigger the process could get. I'm not trying to deter you, just keep that in mind that you are the hand-selected people to kind of work through this process, and then you can use whatever resources you need. And if you decide, hey, we want somebody from these groups here, then I will be the one that will handle getting them here, so you guys don't have to worry about that.
Andy Conyers, who's sitting back here, was the liaison for the task force on the sales tax. And they brought people in to discuss various things with them respecting projects that might be worthy of consideration. One of the things I'll just highlight, it's not a real big deal, but it is for the council as we appoint. A task force is a short-term function, sunshines when it's done. That's why some of you who already serve in other board and commission positions are allowed to serve. We don't classify them the same. Normally, there's only one appointment per citizen, but this task force are different. So I said that for your benefit, Marcus. Thank you.
I will call your attention to, speaking of, to this little book that's here. This is yours to keep. It's some light reading if you want to fall asleep at night. These are public meetings, and so we do everything we do here falls under the Oklahoma Open Meetings Act, which is what I explained last week why we did not meet because of an error on my part in getting the meeting posted correctly. The main things that you'll need to know is these meetings are open meetings, public meetings. Guests are welcome. We do have a guest. Would you like to introduce yourself? I do apologize. I didn't give you an opportunity.
My name's Phil Combs, first calf. I was in 66 Vietnam. I live in no man's land. I live in South Logan County, Edmond mailing address, which makes it sometimes problematic volunteering for these
Yes.
meetings.
Yes.
Or task force.
Yes. Well, thank you for being here. And so if you have other people, guests, or anybody that's expressed interest, these meetings are open to anyone because they are open meetings. I did mention in my initial email to everyone, when I email the group, please don't reply all because that does make it an open meeting. And so if you need to reply, just reply to me. In front of you also is a contact list. If you want to contact another member, that is allowable. That's okay. You can have those sorts of conversations. Basically when we reach a quorum. So you can't have, if there's 17 of you, you can't have 9 of you on the email or that's a public meeting. So just things to keep in mind. There's also some other things within the book here. That's yours to keep if you want to read through that and understand a little bit more about serving on a city board or commission. Anything else you want to add?
No, I'd like to hear the introductions.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Self-introductions, but I'm going to give you some guidelines. Obviously, share your name if you would. How long you've lived in Edmond, because to serve on this task force, if you do have to live in the city limits, why you're interested in participating in this process, and most importantly, your favorite ice cream flavor. Because this is just gonna make it easier if everyone knows a little something about somebody else. Everybody good with that? And if you don't like ice cream, then you may not be able to serve anymore. I'm just joking. Why don't we start over here?
Hello, everybody. I'm Sophia Smart. I've already forgotten your list.
How long have you lived in Edmond?
Okay, so I was raised in Edmond, born in California, but raised here, moved away for college and came back. I think it's a great community. I teach at Summit Middle School, and the reason I was interested in joining this task force is, most importantly, I'm just a joiner. I like being in things, but also my husband's in the Army, and my dad was also in the Army. Yeah, so a good connection there. I think you might actually know him, Phil Smart.
Oh,
I think you were in
yeah.
Echo Company together.
Yeah, we're a hammer company now.
Okay. Okay. And my favorite type of ice cream is mint chocolate chip.
I'm Brad Kimbler. I've lived here 42 years. I joined the force because my son's serving right now, and I can trace service back to the Revolutionary War, so I just think it's an honor to serve on a committee like this. And Rocky Road.
Rocky Road.
Brian Levy, I've lived here 34 years. I was interested actually because I'm in the 180th as their physician, was in Afghanistan earlier this year. And actually I didn't see Mr. Kimbler's son because he was healthy and didn't get injured, but was there mid-December until mid-March as the doctor for the 180th. I've been in the National Guard 4 years. I obviously joined late in life and plan to stay as long as they'll have me and as long as my health stays good. So it's an honor, privilege.
And ice cream.
You know, anything, I'm good.
Anything.
I don't know, whatever's there.
Whatever's there.
Hi, I'm Nathan Schenk. I've lived in Edmond 4 years, grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. I teach at Oklahoma Christian University, I teach English, and I've been teaching a unit recently on memorials. And so I've kind of become obsessed with memorials and doing a lot of research. So that's what interested me in this task force. And I love looking at the ones in Edmond and seeing how they're created. And actually took a bunch of students to the one next to the post office for a field trip, and we looked at it and critiqued it and analyzed it. So that's kind of my angle on this committee. And ice cream, as long as it's Brahms, I don't care.
Okay, I'm Janice Lager. I've been in Edmond 4 years, and the reason being is my husband works at Devon. He got a job there, so we ended up, and we've been here for 4 years. I was in the 73rd AES 932nd AAG way back when, doing air medical evacuation, and I was a nurse. So being a veteran, I was interested in the committee and seeing what could be done for, not just World War II, but, other contingencies also. I'll go with vanilla.
Vanilla, that's not the worst flavor. I like vanilla.
I'm Marcus Witt. I've lived in Edmond for 24 years. We have a young son the youngest son graduated from Edmond North and now lives in Ohio. Fortunately, he doesn't wear red.
Yeah.
But the reason I wanted to get involved is because I spent 37 years of service, retired Army Command Sergeant Major. I started in Vietnam in 1969. I was there in 69 and 70 and saw a few other conflicts between that time and now. But, and chocolate almond.
Ooh, that's
Yep.
good too.
My name's Jason Wint. I've lived in Edmond for 15 years, and the reason I got involved is because I have a father who's a Vietnam veteran, older brother who's a veteran in the Gulf War, a younger brother who's in the Marines, and a nephew who's in the Navy. So I just felt honored about to be more in service. Favorite flavor would be Rocky Road.
I'm Don Baker. I was actually born a half a block west of here in the hospital above the movie theater. So I have been an Edmond, Arcadia area resident pretty much all of my life. I served with the 199th Light Infantry Brigade in Vietnam, where I was wounded. Came back and went to Central State College, graduating from Central State University during one of their many name changes. I'm a life member of the Military Order of the Purple Heart. I'm a life member of Disabled American Veterans. I have had annual memberships with American Legion and VFW, but haven't stayed with them consistently. So I primarily was interested in this task force because of my appreciation of veterans and support, of lifelong support that I have received from other veterans. And if I had to choose one flavor of ice cream, I think it would have to be chocolate.
You gotta love it. And you have the best shirt on tonight, too.
Yeah.
You dressed for the occasion.
David Garrison, I've lived here for, I had to calculate, 43 years. And I'm recently retired. After 30 years at the University of Oklahoma Medical Center, I was a professor down there in neuroscience. My military background, I was an artillery officer in the Marine Corps. I served in 68 and 69. My brother's a retired colonel. My father-in-law he was a POW in Korea. Anyway, I thought this would be useful.
The ice cream.
Vanilla.
Vanilla.
I'm Anita Schlott. I moved to Edmond in 1960, so I've been here 58 years. I'm the executive director at the Edmond Historical Society Museum. So this project's dear to my heart because the Veterans Memorial that we have is in the park next door to where the museum is. I'm the daughter of a World War II veteran, and I'm married to a Vietnam veteran. So, and peppermint.
Jarrett Jobe, University of Central Oklahoma, served as the Assistant Vice President of Public Affairs and Leadership. Motivation for this is I come from a military family. Father and grandfather served. My older brother just retired after 20 years as a JAG in the Air Force. And I also teach in Europe in a program for OU about 3 or 4 times a year to servicemen and women that are active duty there that are trying to get their master's degrees as they serve in Germany, Italy, London, and then Belgium as well too. So that's my interest. And of course, UCO is always wanting to make sure that we support our veteran students, the veterans we have in the community as a partner. And so that also motivated me to help represent them in the room as well. So, and mine would be vanilla too, plain vanilla, old school.
And how long have you lived here?
Well, kind of lived here for about 8 years. Took a break to go down to that school in Norman to continue my education, and came back really fast. And so, well, not as fast as I wanted to. School took a little bit longer, but then lived here now about 10 years since my return. Yeah.
Okay, I'm Megan Schmidt. My interests, I moved to Edmond in '98. Was born and raised in Midwest City, so I'm a lifelong Okie. My interest in joining this group is twofold. I'm finishing my master's in public administration right now with an emphasis on city development and planning. So that's kind of one thing, but also I served 9 years in the Army National Guard, 45th, and I was a medic for the 700th. And we've got a lot of great statues and things like that around Edmond, and seeing something to honor all the veterans from, way back when statehood was founded all the way through our OIF, OEF, I think we'll come up with something great to honor everyone. So, and favorite flavor is by far Bluebell Cookie Two-Step, hands down.
My name is Matthew McClarty. Me and my wife have lived in Edmond since 2013. She was born and raised here. I'm originally from Jinx. We have 4 children. Why I wanted to be on this, I'm currently right now 21 years in the military, getting ready to either, they're going to medically retire me or they're going to retire me, but I've got bum knees, so it's them to figure that out. I've been a 19 Delta Calf Scout since 2003. Before that, and I joined at the age of 17 right out of high school, and I went off and I joined the Navy. I was active duty Navy for 7 years out of Coronado Island. So I was with a SWIC boat team then. So kind of why I was very interested in this, like many of you have, my grandfather on my dad's side was a torpedo man in the Pacific Theater, and then my grandfather was a combat engineer in World War II on the beaches of Normandy, and then he actually volunteered to go to Korea. So, and he just recently passed. One of my best friends is a lieutenant colonel who's the head of the Marine Corps base right now in Hawaii. So I've got a lot of military background, a lot of military family and everything. I work for Bacchus Payne Associates, so, you know, having, and Jason's also an architect, so I think it's great that we have some, you know, people that can understand some of the planning and those types of things around here on the board too. So I think it's just one of the things I'm on a Midtown Redevelopment Board of Directors, Positively Paseo Board of Directors. So it's just another, for me, it was another real board that I wanted to sit on for the community. Favorite ice cream? Right now, there's this one by Ben & Jerry's that just has this slug of caramel right in the middle of it. And so it's awesome when me and my son, he'll just like, hey, Dad, he'll kind of want to sneak some out of there and stuff. So we'll go sit on the couch and have a little bit of it. So. But something interesting from you CAV guys is, so in Iraq, one of my professors at the University of Oklahoma was Ivor Wall. And I didn't know this, but when we were getting ready to give our spurs, we were in Iraq, my commander walked up to me and he goes, "Who's Ivor Michael Wall?" I think it's my teacher. He goes, "These are from him. He mailed these to me, and he was a colonel. So I've got to go get a general down from Fob Warhorse, fly him down here to put these on you, according to, you know, our rules and traditions and stuff." And so he's like, "You better get in the best uniform you can because they're coming in here shortly," and stuff. And I was like, "Oh gosh!" So it was quite an honor to have those from him and everything. So I appreciate everybody's service here before myself.
I'm Chris Levitt. I served 40 years at the VA Medical Center. And the last 25 years, I worked in engineering service, so I was very familiar with the building and all the mechanics of it. And I lived in Edmond my entire life. Like this gentleman said, I was born in the Edmond Hospital over the movie theater. And then my interest in this committee, both my parents, my mother and their father, both served during World War II. Mother was in the Coast Guard, and Dad was in the Army. And he was from here, so when they got married and the war was over, they moved back here. And so that was an honor, and so that's my honor, is to treat them and do something special for them. And my favorite ice cream, I just left there, that was Brahms, and it's chocolate ice cream.
There you go. I think I've introduced myself a million times via email or phone call, but I am Casey Moore, as the mayor said. I will be the staff liaison. I will be your resource throughout this process. I work for the city of Edmond. I lead the marketing and public relations department, and so we handle most of the communications that go out from the city. And I specifically volunteered for this role because I wanted the opportunity to get to work with a task force, but I also had a lot of interest in this project as well. I think it could be something very special for our community and something that our community can be very proud of. Not that we're not proud of what we have now, but again, like I mentioned before, I think there's a real opportunity for us as a community to do something pretty neat. So, as I mentioned before, we do have 3 others that aren't with us tonight: Jim Knoll, Rita Aragon, and then Thomas Despain. So hopefully they'll be back with us at the next meeting. and we'll give them an opportunity to introduce
Tom's
themselves.
out gallivanting somewhere.
He told me that he had to go out of state, so
Yeah.
he did. He was very
Tom,
very honest with me. So that brings us to item number 4, election of chair and vice chair. Again,
Before you get to that.
yes.
Because I'm getting ready to leave. I'm impressed with the skill sets and the reasoning behind why you all are here. I think this task force is well equipped for deep discussions that'll end up with a good recommendation to the council. I only served 4 years in the Oklahoma National Guard way back in the late 60s, early 70s. So, but I do appreciate all of you with all of your long service, and I look forward to your recommendation. Thank you.
Mayor, one
Yes.
thing, you might want to check, when you sent out what ward I was in, I think I'm in Ward 1, not 4.
Well, it didn't matter to me because I don't have a ward problem.
Okay, well, you listed it.
You're here. You're appointed. There's no changing you now.
Okay, well, no problem. I'll, wherever.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to know that.
The mayor gets elected citywide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Charles. Appreciate it. Okay, so next item on the agenda is election of chair and vice chair. I'll kind of go over what I said a few minutes ago. The key role for the chair is to run these meetings, run them efficiently, and will work with me on setting the agendas. That's the main job of that person. And then the secondary job will be most likely presenting the recommendation to the city council. So I'll open up the floor to however we want to do this. If someone's interested or wants to nominate somebody else, but again, unless you know someone else really well in this room, you may not want to nominate them. They may not want to be nominated.
Yeah.
But we're definitely okay with self-nominations. And I think if you want to be nominated, please share maybe why you have an interest. And then this is a public meeting, so we will have to vote. And if you win, great. If you don't win, that's okay too. You're still in the committee and you still get as much say as everybody else. You actually will have a little bit less work. So I'll open it up for anyone that has interest in chair or the vice chair. The vice chair essentially is the backup just in case.
I have interest in the chair. The reason why, again, something really inside me about making sure that this is a wonderful project, way beyond my lifetime. I mean, that's the whole thing, is I want my children to be able to see this. My name is on the memorial down in Cleveland, next to near the football stadium. It's kind of over there, actually, it's by the softball fields, and that was like a really cool thing for me and one of my best friends to have our names on there. So being able to produce something here for Edmond that keeps in our great tradition is really important to me and everything. And so carry on the legacy is one of the things one of my main focuses for this. Thank you.
Do we need to officially nominate him and have a second?
No, I think we're doing self-nominations
Okay.
probably. So yeah, we don't need to go through the official that way. We will do a vote, but I want to make sure if there's other people that are interested that we go down that road. So anyone else interested in chair or vice chair?
I'll do vice. I mean, I can follow. I'm a vet, but also I'm at home most of the time, so I have a lot of free time to help out and do whatever, whether it's talking to people, whether it's helping you out, anything like that, being in a meeting. I'm pretty free on it.
Okay. Anyone else interested?
Yeah, I'd be interested in vice chair as well.
Okay.
I've spoken in front of city council multiple times on multiple issues. Like I said, I'm finishing up my master's in public administration with emphasis on city planning and development. I'm very familiar with how the city council works, speaking in front of them. I have too many people to count of, reaching out for partnerships, grants, things like that. I know how to grant write. But, stuff like that. I too am a disabled veteran. I don't work. I'd be able to devote full time to this as well.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else interested in chair or vice chair? And we're just going to do a hand vote.
Yeah, Casey, just to offer the task force members a choice.
Sure.
I would be willing to serve as well, actually either one, chair or vice chair. But I have held leadership positions in the Military Order of the Purple Heart, in the Disabled American Veterans, as well as several professional organizations. When I'm retired now, I didn't mention that I retired from a 40-year career with the city of Edmond and retired as chief building inspector. So I held offices in Oklahoma Building Inspectors Association, Oklahoma Electrical Inspectors Association, Oklahoma Mechanical Inspectors Association, and Oklahoma Plumbing Inspectors Association.
Okay.
So,
all right, well, I'm gonna put
Are
you.
you sure you want to be retired? I mean, I know people, I know firms that'll hire.
I'm gonna put you for chairs because you wanted a
I wouldn't
choice.
say that I have unlimited time available because I serve in several functions with my church.
Sure.
And one of my big loves is camping. I have a fifth wheel RV, and typically I camp 1 week each month with the Oklahoma Camping Club. But I'm flexible on those as far as our meetings are concerned because of the importance this task has to me.
Sure. All right, I've got you down for, you'll be one that we vote for chair. Was there anybody else?
If I could just ask, you said you had served on a few committees before, but that was when you were introducing yourself. Did you want to repeat those? So.
Oh, Midtown Oklahoma City, on their board of directors for the redevelopment, and then I'm on the Positively Paseo board of directors and everything. And then I did an internship at the city urban redevelopment department. So the MAPS 3 and quarter shore plans, I worked on those way back in the day, so I have some experience, but not as much as Mr. Baker here does.
All right.
I know who to call now. Just on the side, pay you to lunch to get these things passed.
So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do just a raising of hands, and I'm gonna count votes. Again, please, if you're elected, great. If you're not elected, that's still great. No hurt feelings. Everybody good with that? We're all gonna get to serve, and you'll be just fine. So, okay, so for chair, we've got Dawn Baker and Matthew McClarty. So if you'd like to vote for Dawn as a chair, please raise your hand high, and I will count right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. If you'd like to vote for Matthew, please raise your hand, and I'll count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Dawn, come on.
10. All right. Matthew, you will be the chair, but I know you've got people that want to help. So there you go. You've got some resources. All right, vice chair.
Dawn will still be a very great asset to us.
Yes.
Janice, and you said Schwager, is that?
Schwager, yeah,
Schwager.
just Jan, you, I answer to anything.
We're gonna keep it formal tonight. So we've got Janice Schwager and Megan Schmidt for vice chair. Again, the main purpose of this role is if Matthew cannot be here, you will be the one directing the meeting and potentially, if he can't, present to council, that sort of thing. So for Janice, if you would please raise your hand high. I will count now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And for Megan, raise your hand high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so Megan, you will be the vice chair. Janice, you will be our sergeant at arms. Just kidding, we don't have that, but
I can do that well.
I know you could. That's why I said that.
Do we have is somebody going to keep meeting notes, or is that your responsibility?
We're not going to keep meeting notes because we're recording the meetings.
Good.
The meeting notes are the video.
Okay.
So anybody that wants
Watch the
to
video.
do that, if you want written notes, you probably will want to take your own notes, but the video will be your resource to go back and double check if you missed something. So it'll be a very important piece of this. So I will now hand it over to Matthew so that you guys can work through future meeting dates. And when I say dates, that may be the day of the week and the time, not sure. And then locations, I'll have to help with that. So
Okay, I think that would probably be the easiest is, obviously the locations are going to be probably somewhere in a city complex, I would imagine.
Yes.
And everything, so, but we'll just we'll hopefully, we have to have the announcement out, how many, like a week prior to, is that?
48 hours.
48 hours? Okay.
48 hours.
So,
Not a minute less.
right, so.
The agenda needs to be posted 48 hours?
Yes, yes.
For public, to make the public aware. Yeah, for 48 hours prior to, so, basically, we will hopefully have, like, on the agenda, I think having a and a B for the meeting locations, and then that will be given over to Casey, and then basically 48 hours before, we'll put out another one, say, hey, it is here, or 49 hours prior to.
Or ideally, if you are able to select a regular meeting time, then it would probably be best to select a regular meeting location based upon that. So if it doesn't work in this facility, I'll find another facility.
Matt Hall would be an option.
Potentially, yes. We've got some other options within downtown that are right around here.
What nights, I guess, would be the normal council meeting? Because I know that you're going to be.
Well, we've got, council meetings are every 2 weeks. They're on a Monday night.
Okay.
Planning commission meetings are on Tuesdays, every other Tuesday. And so you've got those, but we don't necessarily have to work around that. If we want this building, most nights are out, is what I've learned. If this room, there's other rooms, but they're a little bit less exciting.
Well,
and this one's not that
It's an
exciting.
anomaly that this room's available tonight.
It is available on Wednesdays typically.
Not just at Wednesdays, in the middle of the week, it's like, seems like it'd be one of the best
That'd be
nights.
perfect.
does this work for everybody?
Yes.
Wednesdays.
Everybody?
Speak up if it does not.
It does not work for me. Once school starts, I teach Wednesdays from 5:30 to 10.
Ooh.
Okay.
I would also suggest too, if we invite other people and are looking for community Wednesdays being a church night.
Yeah, so, yeah.
I would also say that it might be difficult to get other feedback, just as a throw out that was my opinion.
So how,
Tuesday.
Tuesdays or Thursdays would be? Obviously Mondays are a no-go. My wife
Neither
will kill me.
Tuesdays nor Thursdays work for me.
This is where the fun happens. Welcome to being chair.
Okay.
Am I the only one that Wednesday doesn't work for?
Would it be easier to just create a spreadsheet and let everybody
Yeah.
populate that and just kind of see where that goes?
What we
Because-
could do, we have a tool that we use a lot for setting group
Yeah.
meetings called doodle polls.
Yeah.
And if you're familiar with those, and we basically will send you an email with a link, and you go in there, and it's going to have a list of dates and times, and you could click when that might
I
work.
mean, my guess is that we're not going to get
Yeah.
everybody,
Yeah.
on the same
I think
page.
you're
So
right.
it's gonna be-
Everybody's not gonna be
What are
able
the
to-
frequency of these meetings going to be?
That's up to you guys.
Okay.
That's part of what you need to talk about. Are you going to meet weekly? Are you going to meet every other week? Are you going to meet monthly? And what we did do is we set an end for this at the 1st of December. Now, if that needs to extend, that's okay. But we wanted to make sure that you guys had a clearly defined time to work within. Otherwise, this could drag on forever.
Right. So you're saying that, I mean, we need to be kind of wrapped up to present by.
We possibly have like 10 meeting dates if we go every other week.
But yeah, potentially. I think if you finished, I think what I would say is if you finished at the beginning of December, we would probably do a council workshop in January. December council meetings, especially the one right before Christmas, is basically, it's either, if there's, we try to clear it for them as much as possible so they don't have to have it. So there's really a lot of times just one meeting in December. So realistically, probably, would you say, Andy, a January workshop is what you'd be looking at. So that would give you a little bit of time
Yeah.
to shelve it during the holidays.
Would every other week, and then once we get to a point where we feel we don't need to meet every other week, and we can make that decision and push it off, does that seem doable to everybody?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So now we just need to get a day.
Was there anyone that couldn't do Wednesday? Was I the only one?
You're the only one, buddy.
That might be a starting point, I mean, honestly, because I think other days of the week.
Either that or
Could it be
alternate, like one
moved
Wednesday,
earlier
one
on Wednesday
Thursday.
that you could come?
Are you teaching here in Norman?
I'm in Edmond, both classes. Let me look at the exact schedule.
But I'm saying you could do like, would do
So,
one Wednesday and then
Yeah,
the next
let's
week a
say-
Thursday.
Would that work for you?
What that?
I mean, we'll do like, let's say, We do a Wednesday, and a Thursday.
Yeah, Tuesday, Thursdays are great for me this semester.
Okay, and I know, and that would,
You had a Thursday conflict, but did anybody else have a Thursday conflict?
but that'll resolve your, but if we do it on a Wednesday and then the following, on a Thursday, and then we do, and stuff like that, that'll be.
To try to get everyone.
Right, I mean, and.
My students would love it if I canceled class.
What are you teaching? Could this be part of class?
Course on the United Nations and then the art of leadership.
Well, you can bring them to this.
Yeah.
No, they can probably come to one of these.
The Edmond Cops Council, of which I'm a member, meets the third Thursday of every month.
So we would just make sure we don't hit that Thursday.
Yeah, you stay, Thursday's fine if you stay away from the
You can just
Thursday.
FaceTime in.
Sophia, are you comfortable if we did that? I mean, I know that kind of cuts half of your participation too,
And
but
18th of October.
trying
And
to.
we'll miss the week of Thanksgiving, most likely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then, I mean, I've got a 12-year-old, so and my church does trunk or treat. Halloween's on a Wednesday this year. So I'm just throwing out
So
possible dead days that I can think of.
I'll throw out a suggestion of you don't have to set the whole meeting schedule tonight.
Just the next.
Just the next meeting.
Yeah.
And then at the next meeting, the next meeting. And so if you've got a plan on how you're wanting to rotate these on different nights, you don't have to set the whole schedule just yet because the schedule could change based upon what you get into and what you start to discover as well.
I serve on the EVAC and it meets the last Wednesday of every month.
So I think that, and Matthew, I know this is supposed to be your role, but I'm trying to just help at least a little bit. That may be the best way to do it. You don't have to set the whole schedule tonight.
Okay, that, I mean, I think that's fine, and I think that, let's see here.
And the 29th.
But ultimately, it would be very useful after next week to know when these are, so when people
Right.
ask you out to dinner or to take a short road trip.
Oh, no,
We'll
definitely.
plan by next week having something, like, you can print out and
Yeah,
stick
we'll
on your
have, we'll have
fridge.
handouts for
We
that.
haven't considered Monday and Friday. Are those options for other people?
Monday's.
Friday's never a good day.
Monday, oh my God, no way.
Because you have things or just because your brain is fried?
Well, that's all the above. Fridays now, because I'll be with your husband at least every other, almost it seems like. We got, our drill schedule's all kind of messed up, so it's always on Fridays, 3 days and stuff. I mean, is, on the Mondays, I'm not opposed to it. I'm just gonna miss a couple of my other ones. Is everybody, is a Monday for the group, is that like a no-go? Everybody?
I like it.
Prefer
Yeah.
not to?
It's about gone.
I like Monday.
Are we thinking these meetings will last an hour, hour and a half? I mean,
That's
well, I'm just
also,
trying to figure
yeah,
out.
that's
because
also
that
for
will
you
help
guys to
decide.
determine, yeah.
Only as long as it needs to.
Only as long as it needs to be. And I think that's what we do is like if we're gonna have a, you know, if we want to have a, if one of your groups want to come in and talk about just kind of what they're, you know, if we have other groups in here to speak to us, they say, okay, we're only having that one group, they have 1 hour to get in here and talk to us, and that's just kind of all we can allow them to. I think, so, because we're gonna have to do our agenda, let them speak, and then do our post-agenda after they speak and stuff, and so we can move everybody and keep it churning. Well, I'd say we go ahead right now and look at August 29th, if that's everybody, so we can go ahead and same place.
Same, is that Wednesday?
Yeah, is
That's
that
your last
Wednesday?
Wednesday though of the month, isn't it?
But then
Yeah, it is.
there wasn't a conflict on any
I thought I heard
Wednesdays.
she has something the last Wednesday of every month.
That's EVAC,
Oh,
that I can miss.
Are you okay? Okay.
And by then, we'll work together and work with Casey, and we'll get some of this other stuff ironed out. And like we said, I mean, it might be a, you know, and that's where we'll do is, we'll put out and say, okay, on the 29th, which is a Wednesday, next day, we're looking at this target date. How many, does this work or not? And we can flex that date in between, because we're gonna have enough time to be able to, of course, post stuff to public and to make sure wherever we're meeting at, we can meet at. And if we have to, we'll just go over the Patriarch and we'll meet over there.
And it's gonna be at 6?
If
I
that's,
think
That's up to you guys.
Yeah.
Does that work for
Because EVAC
everybody?
meets at 5, just around the corner.
Yeah, does
So
6
I-
work
You
for
could just
everybody?
skip that.
okay.
Everybody, okay.
Just going every other week, we're gonna have about 6 to 7 meetings now.
Doing every other?
Yeah.
And that may be sufficient.
That may, okay.
Yeah, and like I said, is if we,
They might have to go a little longer. I
if
mean.
if we get to a point where we feel, hey, we've kind of got a grasp of our idea, we might push it out and say, instead of every other week, hey, let's talk about maybe do we push it out 3 weeks, or do we give it a little bit more time and stuff and everything. And then if we have to meet before for some reason like that, I mean, that's, I think, is the beauty of it. We can be a little bit flexible and stuff. And then if it's not here, we can find somewhere to meet, but we just have to post it.
Well, we'll be able to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is, as you could tell from the mayor's charge, this is a really open process right now. And so I think some of this, there will need to be some flexibility, because you're right. It could be where you don't need to meet as much, or it could be where you get into, you're like, we need to meet a little bit more to work through this particular thing. Because I think some things may come real easily, and then you may get into some other parts of it that you guys really want to spend some more time on.
And I think it's also critical that you're talking about at Stevenson Park. So obviously, we will probably want to have a meeting, not maybe the next one, but the one after that. Yeah, at Stevenson Park there, so we can lay eyes on the area and start to see this stuff. And then I know the discussion of these locations and the areas identified. We'll work with Casey and we'll get those out in the next packet and get those to you ahead of time and stuff. And I can't stand it when my executive director sends out board meeting minutes on a Friday afternoon and we have a board meeting Monday night and they're like, oh, hey, by the way, do you have this stuff ready? And I'm like, thanks a lot. We will effort to get that out as soon as possible. Give you at least 4 days, 5 days to go over what the next meeting agenda is and stuff. So those concepts, those ideas, and then if you have individuals, the community organization groups, if they want to talk and stuff, we can go ahead and start to pencil them in on a bigger map and stuff as we go through this process.
So we're talking the next location would also be here?
I think it'd be here.
If it's Wednesday, 8/29, I will check here first.
I mean, we've always have the libraries, public rooms
Right,
too.
yeah.
And they have a whiteboard, so in case we needed to,
And that's the other
and
thing.
you all have a
If-
portable whiteboard.
If there are resources that you guys want, let me know. I'll make sure that we have them. We also have the ability to have projectors if we need to look at some things. Some of the things that I've been doing, just so that you're aware, I've done a lot of research, so I'm going to have some resources for you related to current memorials that we have and some other things that I've stumbled upon while planning for this. And if there's other things that come up, you're like, man, it'd be really nice if we had a whiteboard or if we had this or this, let me know and we'll make every effort to make sure that this committee has what they need.
I would take a suggestion and just go ahead and say that for every meeting, we need a whiteboard.
Okay, perfect. We will do that.
Just looking at my schedule to get the exact times, if we did 7 o'clock on a Wednesday versus 6, I could make probably those Wednesdays work.
If you do a 1 hour meeting, is 7 o'clock a problem? Were you saying you were going to limit meetings to 1 hour? Is that what you were saying?
Well, if we need to, like on some of those and stuff like that, and if we need to come in here at 7 o'clock and say, okay, guys, let's get in here, let's knock it out, let's get it done, but in an appropriate manner, and we can do that, then yeah, that's fine.
Andy, your task force meetings had a specific time frame, correct?
It lasted an hour.
1 hour, and they stuck to that, and they had people come and present basically at every meeting.
We had 19 one-hour meetings.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The charge was a lot broader, but I will just say, and throwing it out there, the chair they decided up front, these will last an hour.
Okay.
So that's just kind of a ground rule in it.
Any 7 o'clock meeting will last 1 hour. Or my wife, who is about yay tall, will be up here. Holy hell. So you guys can deal with her. So we have a 10-month-old and we have 4-year-old twins, so it's.
And whose fault was that?
Actually, the youngest one was supposed to be the kitty cat.
I can make Wednesday, because I have about a 30-minute gap, but those days I can tell the students, okay, we're going to start 20 minutes, because it's a 3-hour class on Wednesdays, they're going to love me for that anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So if you guys can agree to that, then that eliminates the need to rotate between a Wednesday and a Thursday, and it will make life a lot easier.
Does that work for everybody?
Yeah, that's fine, no
Okay.
problem.
Okay. You just tell your students congratulations.
They'll thank all of you for your
Yeah,
service.
they will.
They'll thank you for your service and.
Well,
for
maybe
making
what you
them
do is you just tell them that they've got to be over here for some extra
Yeah,
credit.
no, I might bring them for a little while.
Tell them they have to bring cookies.
29th at 7 o'clock, same location.
Yes.
With a whiteboard. I would say as we're starting all of this, what ideas between now and then people can write down? Because we're gonna probably do everybody come and put some stuff up on the board type thing, that maybe a brainstorming to start off with, is that it?
Yes, but I think if you go back to what we talked about earlier, I think it's very much in your best interest to look at location first.
Well, does everybody have time in the next 2 weeks to go by Stevenson
Stevenson.
and any other location that they deem might be proper?
Here's
You already have.
what I will do. I will email you out the list of everything that is currently there in those locations. I've gone around and looked at them. We have, I think, like the mayor said, I believe it was 7 or 8 that are technically veterans memorials within our city limits. I will email those to you and let you go see those. But I think you could certainly do that, Matthew, what you're wanting to talk about, but maybe one bite at a time, because
Okay. Yeah.
if you start to get into concept,
forever.
well, and if you get into the concept discussion, it may not work with the location, and so I think if you guys can work on determining a location, that would be very beneficial to all of you. If you would like, we have, as staff, we've discussed some things, but we don't want to tell you you need to pick one of these. I would say that the biggest thing to remember is with location, it will be a lot easier, and it doesn't have to be, but it will be easier if ultimately it's already a city-owned property.
Yeah.
Because one, you gotta buy it.
Yeah.
2, you gotta buy it. And 3, things are not getting any less expensive than that.
So if the lottery commission would just draw my numbers.
Yeah.
I've told them I will help the kids out, I'll help the schools, I'll buy.
I got a list.
If everybody's got a list, get those guys
So
on
I-
the lottery commission, I'm just telling you.
So I think that's a good charge for next meeting, to be thinking about potential locations, and then also do your own research into what we currently have. I'll give you that list.
And now the sites you're talking about, are they public and private sector, or are they all city-owned?
No, they're not all city-owned. What's out there currently is not all city-owned.
Do you have access to a map of the city of Edmond that we could use as a talking point?
Yes. You want a big map? You want it on a screen, or do you want one that you can mark up?
I think one that we could mark on so that we can
Yes.
see physically where the locations are.
Yes.
And talk about things like noise or views or things like that.
You bet.
That'll help make it-
Accessibility.
Yes. We can, we have a portable whiteboard, right? We could attach a big map on the back side of it maybe, so it can go either way.
Yeah.
So we'll do that. We'll bring the portable whiteboard, and then we can print out a large map and put that on the back side so you have a working map. You bet.
All right, we've done everything on our list.
Woohoo, yeah.
Does anybody have, I'll leave it open floor, anybody have anything else? Okay.
You have a commercial for those that are presently in the military. So everybody else can leave if you want to.
Oh,
Let me just state, I'm a volunteer for a group called the Employers for the Guard and Reserve. I hope you know what that is.
Yes, my employer actually has been received that,
Okay.
because
ESPR is responsible for educating service members and employers on the law USERA, the Uniform Service Employment Reemployment Rights Act.
Yeah.
But another thing it does is it provides an ability or a mechanism to nominate your employer or your coworker or your peer at work for what's called the Patriot Award. And it is a really very impressive award. And all you have to do is go to www.esgr.mil and nominate that person for the award. Spouses can also nominate their employers. And it's a beautiful framed certificate that ESGR members, volunteers will assist you in presenting to your employer. And it costs you nothing.
Yep.
And it is just every employer that I've ever presented one to just falls dead over.
Yeah.
So that's my ad.
Yeah. Just on top of.
Do it.
Yeah, I did it for my employers, because while I'm gone for AT, they still pay me normal pay.
That's awesome.
And then even when I'm gone for drills, they say, it's not your responsibility. You signed up to protect us.
Matthew,
I will pay the full.
you need to look at putting them in for the Freedom Award.
I think that's the one I'm gonna put them in for.
I mean, that's the national award that only
Yeah.
15 companies in the United
Yeah.
States get, but that's one of that's something that
Yeah.
makes it, is if you get your
Right.
full,
Yeah.
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, they don't ever, and so it doesn't ever go against my time off or anything. Their
That is
whole rule
awesome.
is take one less day than the guys who sign the checks. That's the rule.
Matthew, let's go ahead and
So-
have an official, we need
I'm
a
sorry.
motion, a second,
Sorry.
and a vote for adjournment.
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay. Well, thank you for everybody for coming.